On the evening of June 29th, an Ethiopian singer and activist, Hundeesa Hachalu, from the Oromo region, was shot to death in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Hachalu was prominent in leading the Oromo protest against the repressive and brutal Ethiopian government led by the Tigray People Liberation Front through his song and songwriting. On July 3rd, Hachalu was laid to rest in his hometown of Ambo, with a farewell organized at the stadium in his honor. But this was not before a group led by the Oromo Liberation Front and their military wing Shane, along with Mohammed Jawar, attempted to force the body back to Addis Ababa against the wishes of his family and force his burial at the capital, which led to a killing of a policeman. His death set off protests across the country as Oromos expressed their frustration at losing an icon of their movement. Unfortunately, the protest started taking a more sinister tone as protesters started looting, viciously killing and maiming Amaras, non-Oromos, and Christian Oromos, and burning down their businesses and homes in Addis Ababa and across the Oromia region. The protest also spread outside of Ethiopia, with many Oromos in America and Europe coming out to the streets with shouts in support of the downfall of the government. The downfall of Neftanya, another word for Amaras, the downfall of Ethiopia itself, claims that Oromos are not Ethiopians, and requesting foreign governments to stop assisting Ethiopia.
He is asking Oregon lawmakers to pull all support for Ethiopia during this time of unrest.
Burn it down! Ethiopia! Burn it down! Ethiopia! Burn it.
The current protest of the Oromos is confusing when considering that on April 2nd, 2018, the EPRDF promoted Dr. Abiy Ahmed as the first person of Oromo descent to lead the nation as Prime Minister of Ethiopia. This historic event was widely celebrated by all Ethiopians and especially by ethnic Oromos around the world, who welcomed him with open arms. Other Oromos such as Lemma Magarsa, former head of the Oromia regional state, took on the position of Minister of Defense. Dr. Abiy also promoted another Oromo, Takkala Umma, former head of the Oromia Transport Authority, to the position of Mayor of Addis Ababa. Takkala was accused in 2019 by Addis Ababa residents of wrongfully transferring thousands of condos illegally to Oromos and working to serve ethnic Oromo politics rather than serving the residents of the city. The rise in Oromo dominance of the country can be seen in the disproportional promotion of Oromo generals in the defense force, as well as the replacement of former Tigray government and city officials with Oromo nationals, regardless of qualification or experience. Despite all of this, the Oromo protesters, who only a year ago celebrated the rise of Oromo influence, strongly advocated the overthrow of the current government, despite the fact it was mainly Amaras and non-Oromos who were murdered or injured, whose businesses and homes were burned down, and were displaced from areas in the Oromo region where over 3 generations of their families lived. It was Oromos who protested loudly about being murdered and prosecuted. Oromo officials appeared on national TV to announce that Oromo youth attacked mainly Christian non-Oromos, but protesters continued claiming otherwise. The government released clips from an interview that Hachalu conducted on Oromia Media Network, in which he claims that his life was being threatened by militant Oromo groups, and also announced that they had apprehended ethnic Oromo suspects who confessed to the crime. Despite all this influence and evidence, Oromo youth calling themselves Kero decided that Amaras were responsible for his death and their repression, and were ordered to commit genocide against all those non-Oromos living in the Oromo region. The person ordering and coordinating this genocide and destruction was former activist turned politician and founder of the Oromia Media Network, Jawar Mohammed. Jawar has claimed in the past that Kero will liberate the Oromia region from other ethnic groups. There are 2 governments in Ethiopia, with Kero being one of them, and in 2019, he triggered a crisis that led to the death of 86 people. Other Oromo officials, such as Shimallis Abdisa, head of the Oromia region, have also contributed to this genocide by stating at the Oromo Irrecha festival held in Addis Ababa that the Oromo people had broken the back of Neftanya, a term used to mainly describe the people of Amara region. The important question is, what is the end goal of the Oromo protesters and their leadership if they claim that they're not Ethiopians? Are they looking to break off from Ethiopia using this unrealistic map that they have pushed in public, which would eventually lead to civil war? Or is their plan to change the name of the country to Oromo, with a capital name named Finfinne, with Oromo leaders controlling all aspects of the government and the Neftanya people living a life of destitute and poverty? Would this plan succeed in a country where 70% of the population are still non-Oromos?
The hashtags, educate yourself on what the Oromo people are. Do not recognize us as Ethiopians. Do not make that mistake.
We will not make this mistake because real Ethiopians don't kill and burn their neighbors and their properties. Unlike Rwanda, real Ethiopians don't have a history of intolerance and hatred for one another. Real Ethiopians have respect and value for each other and have lived together for centuries under these values. Real Ethiopians celebrate the freedom to practice the religion of their choice without fear. Real Ethiopians of all ethnicities have unified against common enemies, allowing Ethiopia to be the only African country not to be colonized. And real Ethiopians have pride and love for their country and will stand under one umbrella despite all their differences.